Hello everyone, today is 1st of October. Now it's about 11 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. Although before I start, let me thank you all dear friends for your attention and support. This small media project survived another month, which would not be possible, obviously, without your support. So thank you very much. And also many thanks to all the members of our community who reacted yesterday on my posts on our community page on YouTube and also on Telegram with the kind words and good wishes. Unfortunately, yesterday, due to flu and high temperature, I was unable to make update. And I posted about it, and yes, many thanks to all the members of our community for the good wishes and their kind words. I feel much better today, although I'm still struggling to make this video. Last 3 hours also. Maybe I will manage to record this time. As you know, I'm recording in one take. I don't do montage and stuff because this notebook will die straight away as soon as I will open some montage program. But anyways, let's see if I will manage to record this update this time. And well, let's go through some news now. And first of all, this report from Vzгляд newspaper that Russian Defense Ministry confirmed the liberation of the settlement of Nelepovka in DPR, which is Toretsk sector of the front line, where Nelepovka is located. And also Russian Defense Ministry confirmed information that Makeyevka is also liberated by Russian forces. Let me show you on the map these settlements. Of course, for members of our community, this information would not come as a big surprise because I reported about progress of Russian armed forces in Nelepovka direction, for example, which is on the southern western side of Toretsk about a week ago, and approximately same time I reported about progress of the Russian armed forces in Makeyevka area, which is located on the northern side of Seversk sector, or some may say on the southern flank of Kupiansk direction. I believe Makeyevka is somewhere. This is Makeyevka, right? So this is Makeyevka, by the way. So both these settlements are under full Russian control now. This information is confirmed by Defense Ministry. Also, we have RIA Novosti's report about statements of Denis Pushilin, head of Donetsk People's Republic, and according to him, forcefully mobilized military personnel of the Kyiv regime is surrendering in Uglidar direction, which is the right decision on part of this forcefully mobilized personnel, obviously, but same time we have reports from different sources that members of the Kyiv regime's 72nd Brigade that is also blocked in Uglidar are refusing to surrender, at least for now, even though, according to some reports, Russian commanding officers of the Russian troops in Uglidar area are offering safe ways to lay down armed surrender to the members of the 72nd Brigade, but and negotiations are in process, yet again, according to unconfirmed reports from a number of sources. But same time, rumors are circulating that members of the 72nd Brigade are afraid to surrender because 72nd Brigade was one of the Kyiv regime's formations that was opposing Russian forces during the previous offensives in Uglidar direction, and they unfortunately, the 72nd Brigade did manage to deal some significant damage to the Russian formations. Russian side suffered some significant losses during their previous offensive operations in this area, and I can see logic behind the members of the 72nd Brigade of the Kyiv regime if they think that Russian troops will avenge their comrades that lost their lives during the previous offensives. But But if commanding officers of the Russian troops in this area are offering safe ways to surrender, to lay down arms and surrender, it is obvious that the surrendering troops of the Kyiv regime will be treated according to Geneva Convention. This is also should be obvious for members of the Kyiv regime. But if they will refuse, and they might have only a couple of hours left, or maybe day or two max, to make up their minds. But if they will refuse to surrender, and the Russian side will be forced to conduct a full-scale clearing operation in Ugledar, then most likely vast majority of the military personnel of the Kyiv regime in this town, including from 7th 2nd Brigade, will be eliminated in the process, most likely. But yet again, rumors are that Russian commanding officers in Ugledar area are offering safe ways to surrender at this point, and as I said, maybe a couple of hours more, maybe day or two max, and the regime's forces have to make up their mind in Ugledar how they gonna continue, surrender or die, basically, for Zelensky's regime and the geopolitical agenda of the Western ruling class. Meanwhile, dear friends, as map is open, I will also give you information that Russian troops further advancing in direction of Bogoyavlenka, increasing pressure on the Kyiv regime's formations in Ugledar, because even Kyiv regime's propaganda outlets are now confirming that most likely all the attempts of Ugledar garrison to break out of encirclement will fail and will cause catastrophic losses on the part of these formations of the Kyiv regime that are encircled in this city. Also, dear friends, the newspaper is reporting about long-range precise strikes of the Russian armed forces in different areas of their Kyiv-controlled territory, including in Nikolaev direction, where entire military echelon or military train packed with their military equipment and munition was destroyed as a result of precise Iskander missile strike. And on internet, most likely many members of our community already see this video when this carriage is moving and it's on fire entirely, and there are secondary explosions. So it was a very successful attack on part of Russian troops and a devastating blow for Kyiv regime's formations, for sure. Also, and there was a strikes, by the way, obviously, in other directions also, long-range strikes, including in Zaporozhye direction, in Odessa direction, Kyiv region direction, and a number of others. TASS news agency is also reporting about Russian military budget, Russian military spendings for 2025. Draft budget bill was introduced yesterday, and in this draft bill, for defense purposes in 2025, some 13.5 trillion rubles are allocated, and most likely this bill will be voted. There might be some changes, minor changes, but in general, most likely this is the amount of money that in 2025 will be allocated for defense needs, 13.5 trillion rubles, which is approximately 150 billion US dollars, according to current exchange rate. Also, we have numbers for 2026 and 2027. So in 2026, Russian budget will be 12.8 trillion rubles, Russian military budget, and in 2027, defense ministry will receive 13 trillion rubles. So, as I said, we are talking about approximately about 150 billion dollars, according to current exchange rate. Significant volume of funds, of course, that will be allocated for defense spending. But after all, we should keep in mind that entire NATO, with few exceptions, Western ruling class and all the countries in the collective West that they are in control of are waging proxy war against Russia, and it is quite understandable that Russia needs to spend significant sums to defend itself, obviously, from this aggression. So important news, interesting news. I guess many members of our community were wondering how much money Russian Federation is spending on defense needs, and now we have a more or less good indicator to have a better understanding of approximate sums that are spent on defense needs. Also, RT is reporting that NATO is NATO is not worried about Russia's recently announced updates to its nuclear doctrine. The outgoing Secretary General of the US-led military bloc, Jens Stoltenberg, has claimed Russian President Vladimir Putin proposed new rules for the use of nuclear weapons last week, citing new threats from the West. The move has been widely understood as a message to the US and its allies about red lines in their proxy war in Ukraine. NATO has not detected any changes in Russia's nuclear posture that requires any changes from our side, Stoltenberg told Reuters on Monday. In his last interview from the NATO headquarters in Brussels, he will be replaced by former Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte today, dear friends, on Tuesday. So, well, this is unsurprisingly quite a predictable response from the NATO and from the Western ruling class, that they don't really care about changes in Russian nuclear doctrine. And this is not surprising, because when we last time see any adequate steps from the leadership of the Western organizations or states, maybe with the exception of few states that are run with decent human beings. So therefore, we all know Western ruling class has no reverse gear. They don't care about warnings. They don't care about messages, signals. They don't care about nothing. They see themselves as rulers of this world, and I don't think they have a intellectual or mental capacity to see objective reality in the way that it is really presenting itself. So therefore, I'm afraid Western ruling class will continue to escalate with Russia, most likely, and at some point, maybe Russian leadership will have no option but to deploy some extreme force to bring to their senses these so-called elites in the West. I don't know. Let's see. Also, dear friends, we have RIA Novosti's report that Western Secret Services, according to Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, Western Secret Services, together with the Kyiv regime's secret services and also terrorist organizations that are operating in Syria's Idlib province, are planning to conduct a false flag operation, and they blame Russia to further demonize Russia. Let's go through this news here. So Western and Ukrainian intelligence agencies are preparing to stage their use of chemical weapons in Syria. The press office of the Foreign Intelligence Service of the Russian Federation has stated, according to SVR, such a provocation is now being prepared by the special services of the number of NATO countries and Ukraine, together with the terrorist groups operating in the north of Syria in the province of Idlib. So, well, it is good that Russian state institution is issuing this statement. It's a preemptive measure, obviously, so that when Western secret services, together with the Kyiv regime and terrorists in Idlib, conduct this chemical attack, the entire world will understand what has happened. Although it is understandable also that inside the West, inside the Western, collective Western, majority of the public that are under heavy influence of propaganda. This majority probably will believe in anything that they told from TV screens or from whatever media outlet they are listening to, reading. But the rest of the world, by the way, the rest of the world will know what is going on. And maybe, just maybe, this preemptive step from Russian Foreign Intelligence Service will force Western secret services to back off, to back down, and not to conduct this terrorist attack with use of chemical weapons. Maybe time will tell. And also, dear friends, of course, Middle East is in headlines worldwide, unfortunately, for all the negative reasons, and yesterday or today is no exception. And we have reports that IDF launched its ground operation in southern Lebanon. So Israeli forces are invading Lebanon now. And according to some reports, some fierce fighting is taking place on the borderline areas of Lebanon, borderline areas with Israel, between IDF and the Hezbollah fighters. There was also a report that Lebanese armed forces withdraw from the southern Lebanon, although later on Lebanese armed forces denied this information. Although I am quite sure they're not gonna get engaged Israeli forces. I have no doubts about that. First of all, Lebanese armed forces are nowhere as capable as Hezbollah. And second of all, Lebanese armed forces are... I don't even understand what they are for, because country being invaded, and if you are called armed forces, you should do something about it, isn't it? But they don't. They simply don't. So it's they are acting as a sort of UN peacekeepers in Lebanon, even though officially they are armed forces of the country. But Hezbollah is conducting some operations to stop advances of the IDF in southern Lebanon. Simultaneously, IDF is conducting artillery strikes on southern Lebanon, also long-range strikes all around the country, including in Beirut and surrounding areas. RT is reporting that President of US, Biden, called for Lebanon ceasefire. So US President Joe Biden has called for an immediate truce in the Middle East, even as anonymous officials in Washington leaked a warning of an impending Israeli ground incursion into Lebanon. So when Biden made this statement, this ground operation was not in force yet. But even this statement from Biden that, or called from Biden that there should be ceasefire, didn't stop, obviously, IDF to conduct its ground operation. When it comes to statements from White House, nowadays, I really wonder if anybody in this world takes those statements seriously. I don't know, but definitely not Netanyahu and his government. That's for sure. RT is also reporting that UN should allow use of force against Israel, according to Erdogan. So, President of Turkey is very vocal due to actions of Israel. And let's go through this news. So, United Nations should approve the use of armed forces to stop Israel's war in Gaza. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said on Monday he sharply criticized the Israel operation in the Palestinian enclave and their airstrikes in Lebanon. Almost 1 million Lebanese civilians have been displaced due to Israeli attacks, Erdogan said after a cabinet meeting in Ankara. At least 1,300 people have been killed in just over a week, according to Lebanese authorities, as a result of Israeli strikes. standing up for Palestine and Lebanon means standing up for humanity, for peace, for a culture of existence of different faiths. The Turkish leader said, in the case of Gaza, the UN General Assembly's authority to recommend the use of force, as in the 1950s, uniting for peace resolution must be swiftly invoked, according to Erdogan. The 1950 resolution states that the UN Security Council fails to maintain international peace. The organization can recommend collective measures up to use of armed forces. So their 1950 resolution states that if UN Security Council fails to maintain international peace, then it may organize or recommend collective measures to be taken up to use of armed forces. Although, by the way, we all understand that there is no way UN is voting for any military actions against Israeli leadership or against Israel. It's just not happening. And Erdogan knows this also perfectly well, I guess. On some channels, I read news that Erdogan went even further than these statements and said that if UN will not authorize use of force against Israel, then Turkey may do so with collectively with some other countries. I think, and I am not quite sure that Erdogan really said this. I read it on certain channels on Telegram, but even if he did, I have some doubts that he means what he says. I don't see any scenario in which Turkey is directly getting engaged in military operations against Israel ever. Not now, not ever in the future. Although strong statements will be made, obviously, and was made before also from Erdogan's government and from governments of a number of other countries also in the Middle East. Interfax is reporting that, and there is two reasons for that, dear friends, that everybody is afraid, kind of, to get engaged militarily with Israel, because first of all, Israel has a US support, unconditional support, and also, very importantly, Israel most likely has nuclear weapons, at least from few dozen of nuclear warheads to few hundred nuclear warheads, which is quite a deterrent on its own, isn't it? But at some point, if Israel leadership continues to further escalate, and I'm afraid that's exactly what they're gonna do, with active support of Western ruling class, because they want to provoke regional war in the Middle East to cut navigation in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait, so that China will not be able to receive energy from Middle East. So if that's the case, and situation will only escalate in the Middle East, at some point, I guess regional countries will have no option, under threat of rebellion inside these countries, but to do something. And unfortunately, region is getting closer and closer to that point of their large-scale war or regional war on daily basis. Also, dear friends, Interfax is reporting that while Israeli armed forces mainly are conducting military operations, bombing campaigns in Gaza Strip, in Lebanon now, they also find time to strike Syria again. And unfortunately, during this strike, one journalist, TV presenter of Syrian TV was killed. Maybe she was interviewing someone that was targeted by Israel at the time of this strike. Or who knows, maybe Israel targeted specifically this person, this journalist. At this point, nothing will surprise me at all. But this is the reports that we are getting, that Israel also targeted Syria. And according to latest report that I see on this matter, 3 civilians were killed, including this TV presenter. Also, Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that name of their new leader of their Hezbollah was stated. So let's translate this news. Let's translate this news here. So Hashem Safidin or Safidain, who previously served as a head of their executive committee, was elected as a new Secretary General of the Lebanese Hezbollah party after the death of Hassan Nasrallah. Al Arabiya TV reported that the Shura Council, their main governing body of their Hezbollah party, has chosen Hashem Safidain as its new Secretary General. Safidain previously headed their party's executive committee and was in charge of political affairs and international affairs. So Hezbollah has a new leader. Hezbollah has a new leader, and most likely this new leader will be among one of the primary targets now of the Israeli forces. I read some reports about this person that he is much more radical than previous head of Hezbollah was, but yet again, only time will tell. RT is also reporting that Biden signs of more arms for Taiwan. US President Joe Biden has authorized additional military support for Taiwan worth $567 million, days after US made Harpoon anti-ship missiles started arriving on the self-governing Chinese island. The new draft down will pay for military equipment, education, and the training provided by the Pentagon to Taipei, according to a memorandum released by the White House. In April, the U.S. Congress approved a multi-billion-dollar foreign security assistance package, of which Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan were their primary beneficiaries. Washington is further escalating with Beijing by allocating additional funds for military aid for Taiwan, and it is I don't even know how to say it, man. It is a clear demonstration of it's not even double standards, it's something else. When formally on one hand US recognize that Taiwan is a part of China, right? And on the other hand, US is sending weapons to Taiwan and allocating some money, and I believe there are some US contingent military contingent in Taiwan also that provides some military assistance, training, and so on to local illegal forces, basically, of Taipei, because Taiwan is a China. That's it, period. Taiwan is a China, and any military or armed groups on Taiwan that has no authorization from Beijing are illegal, right? According to international law, by the way, because UN is recognizing Beijing, right, as a capital of China, and this Chinese Communist Party as a ruling force in the China, not Taipei's government, whatever they are calling themselves. And they have many people may don't know this, dear friends, but Taipei's government is also claims that they are legit government of the entire China. Many people don't understand that Taipei or Taiwan is not claiming independence, or never did, at least until now, from China. What they claiming is that they are legit government of all of China, right? They are descendants of Chiang Kai-shek, or whatever that criminal mass murderer was that lost her in a civil war against communists, and seek safe haven in this Taiwan island, right? And since then, basically, Western world were providing military aid and assistance to Taiwanese criminals, basically, while meantime recognizing Chinese sovereignty over the Taiwan. Which is, I mean, you tell me how crazy is that, really? You tell me how crazy is that? And this is the face of the collective West, dear friends. They might say one thing, but they will act differently, and maybe they have in mind something even, something third. That's the level of degradation of the Western political class. So, okay, if they want to escalate with the Beijing further, let's see how hard they will find out, how hard that way will be, that they will be forced to find out that you should never mess with emerging, especially emerging superpowers. Because if US is declining empire, China is emerging superpower, right? And I don't think US will benefit anything by jeopardizing security of China or global South, for that matter, or the rest of the world. Anyways, let's continue. Western ruling class is an existential threat for humanity, dear friends. You know my take on this, sir. And I guess vast majority of our community will agree with me. But Western ruling class, these sick individuals, these sick so-called elites, are existential threat for humanity. And you know better than I do how sick, how disgraceful and disgusting these so-called elites in the West are. In all fields of life, by the way. Not just in politics, but in all fields of life. They are just despicable individuals, those so-called elites, man. And there are scandals after scandals after scandals in the collective West on that matter, and it's horrifying, man. All those crimes that they are committing, and at the same time, they are so out of touch with reality that they are trying at least to preach rest of the world, what is good and what is not. And they are trying to pretend that they have some moral height or moral high ground. Unbelievable, man. Interfax is reporting that US military base was targeted with several rockets on outskirts of Baghdad, capital of Iraq. No reports about casualties among US military personnel during this strike. Maybe during the day we will receive some additional news, and if so, I will report about it on my Telegram and next updates. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that Pentagon will allocate $2.1 billion for what is the name of this company, by the way? For Lockheed Martin to produce Minuteman or Trident 2 missiles, Trident 2 D5 missiles, and also new nuclear warheads, Warhead 93 Mark 7s. So, no, US is spending additional billions to update its nuclear capabilities, which is, in this case, okay, I can understand that. Nuclear weapons has to be updated constantly, so in this particular case, I have no questions. Obviously, all the nuclear countries updating their nuclear arsenal time to time. RT is reporting that right-winger triumph in Austrian elections. So the right-wing Freedom Party of Austria has won its first ever general elections, emerging 3 points ahead of Chancellor Karl Nehammer's Austrian People's Party, according to an exit poll published on Sunday evening. Well, interesting. Right-winger parties are gaining more and more support all over Europe. Not surprisingly at all, especially when you take in account these crazy agendas of the neolibs that they are trying to push over their collective West countries and also over the world. And also, by the way, one of the reasons why these right-wing parties are gaining more and more popularity, in my personal opinion, is also their migration crisis. In many areas in Europe, I guess local residents feel now as if they are guests or in foreign country. And it does makes them lean towards right-wing parties that are promising to take some actions against this illegal migration or to deal with this crisis in general. But yet again, every action is causing reaction, right? And it was NATO member states, right, in general, that were destroying countries after countries after countries in Africa, in Middle East, in all over the world, right? And now European states are facing some of the consequences of their actions, right? Because these people, refugees, are coming to Europe not from a good life, but because their countries were destroyed and in many cases by their European states, right? And they are people, and they're, as every human being in this world, every normal human being, they also seek safety, security, happiness in this life for themselves and for their family members. So it is what it is. It's collective West that created this crisis, right? Also, Japanese government, by the way, resigned today, this morning, and in fairly short time, Japan will have a new prime minister. Let's translate this news also for a little more detail. So, Japanese government on Tuesday morning fully resigned before their scheduled vote of the Japanese parliament on the candidacy of a new prime minister. Kyodo News Agency reported the cabinet of the ministers of the prime minister Fumio Kishida in full force resigned before the arrival of the government. The agency writes, later on Tuesday, the new chairman of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party of Japan, Shigeru Ishiba, is expected to be elected Prime Minister of the Japan at an extraordinary meeting of the Japanese Parliament, both chambers of which are controlled by the LDP and its allied Komeito parties. So yes, most likely this person, Shigeru Ishiba, will become next Prime Minister of Japan, and according to some news that I read about this person, is a big supporter of the escalation with just about everybody of its neighbors, Russia, China, Korea, and this person is big supporter of creation of NATO kind of organization in in the Pacific region. Probably under his leadership, Japan will move closer to in close cooperation with or move towards closer cooperation with the AUKUS military organization, military bloc that was created by UK, US, and Australia, and maybe even become a member of that group. Although formally, Japan has no rights to be a member of any military blocs. Japan has not even rights to have a military, right? Only defense force. But unfortunately, because Japan is basically occupied by US until now, and all these Japanese leaders are US proxies, Japan was allowed to have even aircraft carriers, although those aircraft carriers are designated as amphibious warships, as helicopter carriers, as amphibious vessels, but not as an aircraft carrier, although F-35s are operating from the decks of those vessels. So that makes them aircraft carrier, right? And everybody who remembers Second World War knows perfectly well what was Japanese main force on the sea. It was aircraft carriers, right? So seems like US leadership is in its pursuit to maintain dominance over the world. US leadership or leadership of the collective West, in their pursuit to maintain their whatever positions they have in this world, or to increase their dominance, are forgetting about history and history's lessons. And I guess they will find out hard way how big of a mistake that approach is. Let's see, but also, dear friends, RIA Novosti is reporting that Russia will consider blockage of Finnish Strait or Finnish Gulf as a hostile action towards Russia, and hostile and illegal action against Russia. I mean, something is wrong with this notebook. But I have updates, by the way, on this topic. I have updates on this topic of notebook, and I will share with you this updated information in short. Come on. I cannot. Okay. So if Finland and Estonia plans to impose a complete blockade of the Gulf of Finland for Russian shipping, Russia will regard such action as a violation of international maritime law. The Russian Foreign Ministry told RIA Novosti. Earlier, the media reported that Helsinki and Tallinn were developing plans to close the Gulf of Finland to Russian ships in event of threat. And the Russian Foreign Ministry is also articulating that not Helsinki, not Tallinn are not not issuing specification what threat they mean. What threat? They may say existence of Russia is threat for them, and what that even means. Is that existence of Russia is enough reason for them to try and block a Gulf of Finland? I don't think so. In any ways, Moscow's response is quite diplomatic for now. But if these two countries, these two proxy countries, quasi states, by the way, will do something, really, I guess they will find out in fairly short time how big of a mistake they made. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that Rafael Grossi, head of CIA runner IAEA, or International Atomic Energy Agency, is visiting Belarus. He will have a meeting with a number of officials there, and also he will visit a nuclear power station in Belarus, in city of Ostrovets. Okay, I don't understand why this criminal is allowed to walk around Russia and walk around Belarus now, when everybody knows this is a clearly asset of the CIA. Like entire organization is basically run by CIA, right? And why these games still conducted, these political games or whatever that is, when Moscow allows him to enter Russia, when now Belarus is allowing him to enter. I mean, just say it openly that this individual is asset of CIA. He is acting on behalf of Western ruling class, and we have no trust in this person. So as long as this organization run by CIA, we are not dealing with it. Period. Just say it, for God's sake, man. What the hell? Why you are legitimizing these criminals? I have a question for Moscow and Minsk. Why you are legitimizing these criminals from CIA or Western-run so-called organizations? I don't know, man. And you all remember, dear friends, isn't it, that this Grossi stated recently that he has not enough information to know for sure who is targeting or who was targeting Kursk nuclear power plant and who is targeting Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. That's how crazy, how insane presence of this person on position of head of IAEA is. He's clearly asset of the CIA, right? Absolutely despicable individual. And for whatever reason, Moscow and Minsk continues to play these political games. Why? Why, man? Just say it as it is. Say that we don't, we don't deal with these assets of their Washington or London or, And if we want to talk to Washington, we will talk to Washington. We don't need these mediators here that are acting on behalf of our enemies. Just say it as it is. I mean, I don't know. This is clearly not normal, in my personal opinion, but yet again, who am I to judge, isn't it? And dear friends, I will give you this news before end of this update, that maternity capital is planned to be indexed by 7.3% next year in Russia. As a result, its value may amount to more than 676,000 rubles for the first child and more than 893,000 rubles for a second child. So here in Russia, dear friends, there are several programs in the place, government, programs that are financed by federal budget, including maternity capital, which means that families are receiving financial support from government when they have babies, right? And this maternity capital, this given to to moms, it given to moms, right? Well, next year, this is the numbers, by the way. Next year, after indexation, for the first child, maternity capital state support will be about 700,676, and for second child up to 900,000, which is not bad, really, which is not bad. And this maternity capital can be used when you are purchasing house, when you are improving living conditions, or in any ways that will improve conditions for your kids. That's the main task for this project, right? And of course, it's also stimulating this maternity capital, also stimulating or supposed to stimulate increase in the birth rates. But unfortunately, Russia is experiencing decline in the birth rates, despite all the attempts of governments to stimulate families to have more babies, to have more kids. I guess something else, something or some more needs to be done to achieve results that is preferable for society and the country. And yes, I mean, and government does, by the way, whatever it can in this direction. Maybe they can do some more, but right now, at least, there are a number of programs that are supporting families, right? For first kid, second kid, if you have 3 kids and more, then there are whole new level of support, because in that case you are family with many kids, and that's different status, by the way, so you're receiving bigger support from state. But yet again, unfortunately, birth rate is still not on a level that is needed for that will be preferable for best interests of better long-term interests of the society and the country. But work is done in this direction also in many. I'm quite sure, dear friends, there are many countries in this world that families don't receive nothing, right? The baby is born, and in Russia, for first kid you receive some 700,000, which is about 700,000 rubles. It's about $8,000, I guess. And for second kid, 900,000 is about $1,000, right? $10,000, yeah. It may not be millions, right? But it's still some support. But anyways, dear friends, I'm glad that I managed to record this video. It is quite long. But hopefully you will find it informative and interesting. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. As you know, this is the only way we can at least try and influence algorithm, likes and comments. And for already same reason, if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends on internet, on the platforms that you are actively using, or in real life with your friends. And finally, if you like my work, if you like my channels, if you think we deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal or Boosty platform, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links are under this video description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.